More than 10 million Filipinos live and work outside the Philippines, but the Filipino diaspora is not spread evenly across the world. In some countries, the community is still small and growing. In others, Filipino families have been building new lives for generations. Today, we count down 10 countries with some of the largest Filipino communities abroad, and this list has a few names you may not expect. One country in the middle has Filipino roots that go much deeper than most people realize. Another has become one of the biggest Filipino communities in the Gulf. Then comes number 1. The difference between number 1 and the rest of this list is enormous. Do you have family, friends, or relatives living in one of these countries? Maybe you are watching from one right now. Keep watching, because the final country has the largest Filipino community anywhere outside the Philippines. Number 10. The United Kingdom. About 200,000 Filipinos call Britain home today. The connection between the two countries goes back decades, especially through healthcare. Filipino nurses became an important part of British hospitals when more trained medical staff were needed. Today, Filipinos work as nurses, caregivers, teachers, hospitality workers, and professionals across Britain. Many have spent years building careers and moving into senior positions. Filipino nurses have also become one of the largest groups of foreign-trained nurses within the NHS. But the Filipino presence in Britain is not only found inside hospitals. Every Sunday, families gather for Mass in cities like London and Manchester. After church, they share pandesal, coffee, and stories from home. Filipino grocery stores offer rice, canned food, snacks, and other familiar favorites. For many families, Britain is no longer simply where someone went to work. It has become a place where Filipino careers, friendships, and new generations continue to grow. From Britain's cities, we now travel south toward the Gulf. Number 9. Kuwait. About 200,000 Filipinos live and work in Kuwait. The Filipino connection with Kuwait grew during decades of economic expansion. Many workers first arrived for jobs in households, construction, transportation, and other essential services. Over time, the community expanded into nursing, education, engineering, hospitality, and skilled professions. That change tells an important story. Filipino migration is not limited to one type of work. It changes as workers gain experience and families build longer connections. Filipino life in Kuwait also has its own familiar rhythm. Friends meet after work, families gather on weekends, and basketball and karaoke remain popular ways to relax. Filipino shops offer ingredients that make meals abroad taste a little closer to home. For workers supporting relatives in the Philippines, each successful month overseas can mean another school payment, another family goal, or another step toward a better future. Kuwait may be far from home, but the Filipino community has made it feel a little closer. Just across the Gulf, another country has developed a large Filipino community. Number 8. Qatar. Around 180,000 Filipinos are estimated to live in Qatar. The community grew quickly during the country's major construction and economic expansion. Filipino workers became part of the projects that transformed Doha and its surrounding areas. But today's Filipino community is much broader than construction. Filipinos now work in healthcare, hotels, restaurants, education, engineering, retail, and other professional fields. Some have built careers very different from the jobs they first accepted overseas. That is one of the most interesting parts of the Filipino story in Qatar. A worker can arrive with one skill and later discover an entirely different career path. Outside work, Filipino life continues through churches, community groups, restaurants, and weekend gatherings. Friends eat together, talk about home, and keep familiar traditions alive. Qatar may be smaller than some countries on this list, but its Filipino community has become a familiar part of everyday life. Now we leave the Gulf and travel toward East Asia. Number 7. Japan. Roughly 300,000 people of Filipino origin are connected to the Filipino community in Japan. The relationship between the two countries has developed over many decades through marriage, employment, business, and professional migration. More recently, Japan's aging population has increased demand for workers in several industries. Filipinos now work in caregiving, manufacturing, hospitality, food processing, agriculture, and technical jobs. Some experienced workers have stayed long enough to train Filipinos arriving after them. The worker who once needed help is now the one helping someone else. That is how a community becomes stronger. In Japanese cities, Filipino stores sell dried fish, bagong, snacks, and other familiar products. Churches and community groups also give Filipinos a place to meet. For someone arriving alone, hearing Tagalog or seeing Filipino food on a shelf can make Japan feel less distant. The Filipino community here shows how a job can lead to friendship, and friendship can eventually become a home. From Japan, we cross into the Southern Hemisphere. Number 6. Australia. Around 350,000 Filipinos are part of Australia's growing Filipino community. Australia became an important destination through skilled migration, healthcare, aged care, education, engineering, and the trades. Filipino professionals found opportunities in major cities and regional communities. Nurses and care workers became especially visible. But the story goes much further. Filipino engineers, teachers, IT professionals, tradespeople, and business owners are now part of Australian life. Many families eventually make the move together. Children grow up in Australian schools while still learning Filipino traditions at home. Then come the weekends. Filipino festivals bring food, music, dancing, basketball, and karaoke into parks and community centers. One lechon can draw a crowd all by itself. These gatherings are more than celebrations. They bring grandparents and younger generations together while keeping Filipino culture alive. Australia shows how an overseas career can become something much bigger. It can become a family, a community, and a future shared across generations. This is one of the entries many viewers may not expect to see this high. Number 5. Malaysia. The number of Filipinos there varies depending on how long-term residents, migrants, and historical communities are counted. But the connection between the Philippines and Malaysia goes back much further than modern overseas employment. In Sabah and other parts of the region, people from the Philippines and Malaysia have shared trade, fishing, family ties, and cultural connections for generations. Later migration brought Filipino workers into agriculture, construction, services, hospitality, and other fields. That makes Malaysia different from many countries on this list. For some Filipinos, Malaysia is not a completely new destination. It is part of a much older regional story. Filipino families gather around food, basketball, church activities, and community celebrations. Familiar ingredients and Filipino cooking remain important parts of everyday life. Children growing up there can carry both Filipino and Malaysian experiences with them. Malaysia reminds us that the Filipino diaspora did not come from one single migration wave. It grew through many journeys, across many generations. Now we return to the Gulf, where one of the world's most visible Filipino communities has grown alongside modern cities. Number 4. The United Arab Emirates. Around 500,000 Filipinos are estimated to live in the United Arab Emirates. Dubai and Abu Dhabi attracted Filipino workers during decades of rapid economic growth. Construction, hospitality, retail, and domestic service opened many early opportunities, but the community has expanded far beyond those first jobs. Today, Filipinos work as nurses, engineers, teachers, IT specialists, hotel managers, chefs, accountants, and business owners. Filipino talent can be found in offices, hospitals, hotels, restaurants, and major companies. Outside work, the community is easy to find. Churches, restaurants, grocery stores, basketball leagues, and Filipino events bring people together. Families spend their days off eating together and catching up with friends. Some Filipinos have even built businesses of their own. For many, the goal is not simply to earn money abroad. It is to turn that opportunity into education, savings, property, and a stronger future for the family. The United Arab Emirates has become much more than a workplace for many Filipinos. Leaving the Gulf behind, we cross the Pacific toward Canada. Number 3. Canada. Nearly 1 million Filipinos are estimated to live across the country. Filipino migration to Canada has developed across many generations. Caregiving played an important role in earlier migration, while healthcare, transportation, construction, technology, and other professions later expanded the community. Today, Filipino life is especially visible in cities like Toronto and Winnipeg. Filipino restaurants, bakeries, grocery stores, salons, and community organizations have become familiar parts of the local landscape. Walk into a Filipino bakery and you might find pandesal beside pastries from another culture. Visit a community event, and you may see children learning tinikling while their grandparents watch proudly. That mix of old and new is what makes Canada special for many Filipino families. A worker who once arrived alone may eventually bring a spouse, raise children, and build a career. The result is no longer simply an overseas workforce. It is a large Filipino community with businesses, families, traditions, and a future of its own. From Canada's northern cities, we now return to one of the oldest destinations in the modern OFW story. Number 2. Saudi Arabia. Around 750,000 Filipinos are estimated to live there, with an even larger number connected to the country through work over the decades. The relationship grew during Saudi Arabia's oil-driven expansion in the 1970s and the years that followed. Filipino workers became part of construction, healthcare, transportation, domestic services, engineering, and many other fields. Today, Filipino professionals can be found in hospitals, companies, schools, and technical industries across the kingdom. Some families have connections to Saudi Arabia that span 2 generations or more. That is a remarkable reminder of how long this relationship has lasted. On days off, Filipino workers gather for basketball, shared meals, church activities, and karaoke. Filipino stores offer familiar food and products from home. These simple moments create a sense of community thousands of miles from the Philippines. Saudi Arabia has played a major role in the OFW story. The achievements of those workers continue to shape families and futures back home. And now we reach the largest Filipino community anywhere outside the Philippines. Number 1. The United States. More than 2 million people born in the Philippines live in America. Broader estimates that include Filipino Americans from later generations put the community at nearly 4 million. That difference matters because sources count Filipino communities in different ways. Either way, America stands far ahead of every other country on this list. The story began more than a century ago, with Filipino workers, students, sailors, and other early migrants. Later immigration changes opened the door for generations of Filipino families. Today, Filipinos work as nurses, doctors, engineers, teachers, military members, IT professionals, entrepreneurs, and leaders across countless industries. But the most remarkable part may be what happened beyond the workplace. Filipino communities grew into neighborhoods, businesses, churches, professional groups, and cultural organizations. In California, Hawaii, New York, Texas, New Jersey, and many other states, Filipino life has become deeply established. Families celebrate fiestas, play basketball, attend mass, sing karaoke, and gather around Filipino food. From the smaller communities near the beginning of this countdown to America's enormous Filipino population, the range is incredible. Yet the heart of the story remains the same. Filipinos go abroad looking for opportunity, and wherever they settle, they build something that lasts. From the smaller Filipino communities in Europe and Asia to Saudi Arabia, Canada, and America's enormous Filipino population, this countdown shows just how far our people have built lives around the world. Some communities began with workers, others grew through families, marriage, education, business, and generations of settlement. But the pattern remains familiar. Filipinos bring their skills, traditions, and strong connections to family wherever they go. Do you have a parent, sibling, relative, or friend living in one of these countries? Or are you part of the Filipino diaspora yourself? Tell us your country and your story in the comments below. Your experience could become the story another Filipino viewer needs to hear. If you are proud of our Kababayans around the world, like this video, share it with your family, and subscribe to Discovering the Earth for more stories about Filipinos worldwide. Wherever our Kababayan go, they always carry the Philippines with them.